Hi everyone, it's Callie. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Today I am playing with lunar pastes. I don't know about you, but I have an aversion to pastes and messes in general. But I decided to brave it and play with these lunar pastes. They're just so colorful and I've been intrigued for a while. So I've got a rainbow of colors here. There are more than what you see here. So this is just a small collection of it. And it's very creamy and it finishes with a metallic finish and it's beautiful. So we're gonna do lunar paste 3 ways today. And my first technique is gonna be coloring the paste over a dark cardstock, in this case black, and I'll be using a little foliage die from that etched meadow flower and leaves die set, and I'll be die cutting each of those colors out. So this is kind of a swatch over dark cardstock so you can see it, and then I'm going to repurpose this panel to create a card out of it. Right now I'm using my index finger and just mirroring the color onto the black cardstock. I'm using a light hand, and if you want a more even color, you can use a palette or you can go over the layers. It dries super fast. By now that red will have already dried. And if you want a list of all the colors that I used today, be sure to check out the coordinating blog post and everything will be listed below for your convenience as well. All right, so we have a shiny, beautiful finish. Like I said, it dries super fast, but I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside because I wanna work on my second panel. This second panel is slightly bigger than an A2 card panel because I want to make sure that I get plenty of color on there to die cut that leafy frame die out of it later. So here we're doing the same thing, only this time I'm using white cardstock. So this is the second technique, I guess you can say. And I'm, again, just smearing the color over that white cardstock. And I'm not being perfect with it. At first it looks like a hot mess and I decided I needed another blue in there, so I went over the darker blue. It's fine. It's fine, everyone. I had to get over it, so I guess we're just going to keep pushing forward. So I complete my panel here and it ends up looking pretty cool. It's kind of like a watercolor, alcohol color look, right? So again, it's got that beautiful shimmer on it and it's so easy to clean off my glass mat there. For the third way I'm going to be using the lunar paste, I'm going to be using some stencils. But in order to create a more colorful background, I'm going to go ahead and ink blend a background first. Have my Tonic Studios Tim Holtz grip mat there, and I'm going to lay my cardstock over it, and it's going to help my cardstock stay in place. I'm going to use a few positively saturated ink colors. Again, if you're interested in the colors, check out the links below and on the coordinating blog post. And I'm going to ink blend a rainbow blend all around this panel. So I'm starting with a red and then going to yellow, and that's going to create a nice orange between the two colors. Then I'm going to use this teal and it's going to create a nice green. So you don't always have to use each color of the rainbow on your blends. A lot of times those colors will come out naturally. So I'm just going to work my way around this panel until I get my full rainbow. And because we're making 3 cards today, I went ahead and ink blended 2 additional panels just like this one off camera. Okay, so now that we have our backgrounds created, we can go ahead and start prepping for our cards. I'm going to be doing some die cutting now. So all 3 cards are going to have foliage and stems coming in towards the center. And for the left panel there, we're going to be using this leafy frame die. And the right, we're going to be using that foliage die from the etched meadow flower and leaves die. I'm getting all of my die cutting out of the way and putting these panels over their coordinating rainbow panels that we ink blended just to get them ready so that we can create and put together our card later. All right, now I want to work on my third card. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside because, again, we have some stenciling to do, and that's going to take a bit of drying time. So I have this leaves stencil set. It's a little mini 3x3 inch stencil set. There are 4 different styles of leaves, so it gives a good variety for a card like this. So I actually got this idea from Simon Hurley. Of course, I was looking at his Instagram page just to get some ideas for how to use lunar paste, and this one card stuck out to me. So I loved the idea of making a rainbow card with lots of foliage coming towards the center. So as you can see, I'm stenciling the paste on using a little spatula, much like you do with traditional pastes. And I'm a little bit OCD, but I'm trying not to be a perfectionist here and letting the little imperfections just stay where they are because this is a long process. I'm having to clean my stencil and my spatula in between each color and making sure that the areas are dry before laying down a stencil. As you can see, there's a little bit of a mess there. I did not want to start over, so I kept pushing on and working my way around the rainbow and skipping as I need to. I don't overlap the leaves, but obviously it's perfectly okay if you do, as long as those stenciled areas are dry. And so I'm using a little heat tool. This is the Ranger heat tool. It blows out hot air, but the air is not powerful. So it's a nice tool to use for drying mediums like this. Okay, so I have my 3 cards prepped here. While that right one, the stenciled one, is drying, I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of these die cuts onto those rainbow panels that we ink blended. So I'm attaching this leafy frame here with some liquid glue. I've got the Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky glue inside Gina K's little detailed fine tip bottles. And I transferred it into the smaller bottles because it gives me a little bit more control. I'm not holding a big bulky bottle. Once I have that colorful leafy frame adhered, I'm going to use an acrylic block to apply some pressure while it dries. All right, next up, I'm going to work on these smaller stems. Now for these smaller stems, I started to use liquid adhesive and then I thought, oh, these would be perfect to use microdot sheets on. So microdot sheets are adhesive sheets that have adhesive sandwiched between these 2 transfer layers. And what you do is you peel back the top layer and then you set your die cuts inside and then you burnish your die cuts in there. Or images, you can use this for images as well. I'm using a little bone folder and just making sure the adhesive sticks onto the back of my die cuts really well. And then you just peel it off and then stick your images or die cuts onto your card. So it's super easy to use and it was perfect for this particular card. Now that I'm done sticking it all on there, I'm going to go ahead and trim all of my panels. Well, 2 of them. The 2 panels that I am trimming are the stenciled ones and that smaller foliage die cut. The leafy frame has already got a frame around it, so I didn't need to do any trimming. When I'm mass producing, or semi-mass producing, you can say, I like to do things in steps. So I'm attaching all 3 panels onto card bases, and now we'll work on the sentiments. I've got several of my favorites from Kathy Zilski's sentiment dies here. So I went ahead and prepped them off camera to save some time. I die cut 2 with vellum with matte gold cardstock, and this one with black and simple white. And once I've paired up my card with my sentiments, I'm going to go ahead and attach them all with foam adhesive or little strips behind the vellum here on these vellum pieces here. And I strategically set that here for you sentiment over that little blotch of a mess that I made on the stenciling over that purple foliage. So our 3 cards are almost done. You could stop here if you'd like. I wanted to add a few sequins, so I've pulled out some Trinity Stamped Soapy Bubbles confetti here. These are, again, my favorite iridescent sequins. They're flat backed, there's no hole, they don't stick up, and they adhere to cards very well. I've added some random glue dots all over where I wanted my sequins to go, so I'm just using a little gem tool there to adhere those little flat back confettis, and then we are done with our cards. So here's our first card where I added the Lunar Paste over white cardstock and then die cut it from a leafy frame. The second one is a stenciled card, and then that last and final one is Lunar Paste over black cardstock. So I hope you enjoyed these 3 ways to use Lunar Pastes. I'm glad that I found ways for me to enjoy these pastes and still make colorful cards that are true to my style. There are many other ways to use these Lunar Pastes, and I hope you give those a go too. Thanks so much for stopping by today. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.